Well, welcome to the first episode of Get Your Deck Out. It is me here, Old Emo Dave, joined as always with my content partner Scott. We are here looking at what we've been playing this week on Magic Online in preparation to take to our paper locals. Scott, welcome to the first episode.
Thank you.
We're today going to talk through something we've been playing through in the similar space to decks that have been popular in the control Jeskai space. We have specifically Jeskai Breach, Jeskai Through the Breach, which we're trying out to see, especially in a soon to come post Nadu world, how everything's going to fare, and how everything's going to be when we haven't got to deal with a pesky bird on 3. So today's deck list here, we have got 6 creatures, which is 3 subtlety, 3 Emrakul of Aeon's Torn, 5 sorceries, 2 Lorien Revealed, 3 Wrath of the Skies, 22 instants with Brain Surge, Counterspell, Force of Negation, Galvanic Discharge, single Spell Snare, Through the Breach, Tune the Narrative, and of course, in all decks like this, we have 4 the One Ring artifacts. 23 lands in total. With the usual control sideboard, we've got some Celestial Purges, Consigned to Memory, Flusterstorm, Mystical Dispute, Rest in Peace, Supreme Verdict, 1 of Surgical Extraction, and Teferi Time Raveler. Scott, we ran this through some leagues, but you were the one who put us up to this deck. Talk about some of the key cards in here and why we got them in the deck.
Yeah, so the base of it was I wanted to play Jeskai, but I didn't want to go for the Flage route because I thought a slight pivot makes us better in the mirror, that sort of thing, because you can get in these weird spots where you're fighting over each other's Flages. And just thought, dodge all of that, go for a thing that works through the One Ring, specifically, so through the One Ring protection, because Annihilator does not target, it does not damage, it does not enchant, and blocking it, good luck. So it ignores all of that. So if your opponent taps out for the One Ring and then you through the Breach Emrakul them, you've basically just won the game, as is most often the case when you do get to through the Breach Emrakul. So in the mirrors, it comes down to your opponent ends up tapping their mana a lot more on their turn than you end up doing because they need to try and get their Flages in the graveyard at some point. And 4 Force of Negation, 4 Counterspell, back that up really nicely. You can, through the Breach on your opponent's end step, to protect it with Force of Negation, and then you keep the Emrakul into your turn. I did actually kill 1 or 2 people by through the breaching a subtlety just for the last points of damage once or twice, but that's probably gratuitous. Yeah, that's probably gratuitous. You could probably just cast out the subtlety on someone's end step and beat them down with it. So the key spells really through the breach and Emrakul, the One Ring, obviously.
Definitely right, and I think Emrakul 100%. With this being in the deck, this felt almost like playing a legacy combo deck. But also having that sort of control shell because there's so many things you need to dodge and weave around right now. With like the normal aggro energy packages, and with this deck, we're sort of not, because we're kind of going, yeah, if you're playing the bird, we're gonna counter it and we're going to destroy it, rather than necessarily lean into any of the harsh mentary type hate route. But I enjoy playing it. About the energy package, leaning in a little bit, but not too heavy. It's mainly about Wrath of the Skies.
Yeah, Wrath of the Skies is one of the better spells in Modern right now. I know everyone was sleeping on it in previous season, same as Flage, but it kills everything. It destroys your opponent's Urza Sagas just incidentally. It wipes away boards for very often just 2 mana. That's why we're playing the full Fortune the narrative as well. It also goes, those also go quite nicely with the Force of Negations and the Subtleties. That's why there's 2 Lorien Revealed in here as well, because we are playing 7 blue pitch cards. We need that density of blue spells in there. It's pretty robust, as you said. It sometimes feels a bit like a legacy combo deck where your main aim is to get a One Ring down, start using that to generate insane amounts of card advantage, leverage your counter magic, stay ahead, and then sneak in through the breach Emrakul, basically. At some point, when your opponent's shields are down, you get them in. You're hitting them for 15, which is not an insignificant amount of damage. But the more important thing is they're sacrificing 6 permanents, normally 6 lands.
Wow.
There's not many decks that can come back from that, especially when you go, cool, you sack 6 lands and I've got 2 counter spells in my hand.
Yeah, we got a balance with like the pitch spells, haven't we? So like the subtlety forces, very, very important for this deck to be able to get the sneak attack and surprise attack out, but being able to also sneak attack, surprise attack out defense is there as well. So making sure you've always got a lot of cards in hand with a lot of card draw, I can see why that's really important. With or I call them cantrips, but like the Lorien and the Tuna narrative, Brain Surge as well. That's a cool card, and I think we've been, because of it's a 3 mana cost, but it does a lot of things, doesn't it? Get you that many cards drawn from your deck. Be looking to see that card
every time I cast Brain Surge. It felt incredible in this deck because you're playing a control deck with an AB combo in it. The only issues I was running into with this deck routinely were drawing multiple Emrakuls or drawing multiple Through the Breaches when you didn't want to. With Brain Surge, you just put them back, shuffle them away with a fetch land or a Lorien revealed, and then you can you're replacing them with lands and interactive spells. If I was to play this again, I'd probably go up on Brain Surges and do a bit more work with the mana base. I tried to just port a normal mana base into this one, but losing Flage, I did cut the Cascade Bluffs because the double red's not required, but the Elegant Parlor in particular, I never fetched it. Every single time I cracked a fetch, I was getting Meticulous Archive or Thundering Falls, or I was getting a Shockland untapped. And this was also mentioned, I think, on Jerry Thompson and Dave Shields' podcast, but people fetch their Surveil lands far too early with this deck, where you're finding a tap land. So people's base instinct is to get the tap lands first when the mana's less relevant, and then, if you need to get a shock land later on, then it's fine, it can just enter tapped. What I did more than once was turn 1, I was finding a shock land tapped, because I knew at some point on turn 3 or turn 4, I'd find a Surveil land, and the Surveil would actually be more relevant, and I'd have a much better idea of what I was looking for. Where you Surveil on turn 1, and there's an Emrakul on top of your library. Well, in theory, you want it if you've got a Through the Breach in hand, but can you afford to essentially skip a draw step for a blank card at that point in the game? Whereas you Surveil on turn 7 when you've got a ring going, you look and see Through the Breach on top, and you go, oh, okay, cool, I'll keep that one there. That's the first part of it. You tap your ring, draw the Emrakul as well. So, okay, cool, I guess you sack 6 lands.
Yeah, and that's like one of the interesting wrinkles of these Surveil lands. Like, they're more expensive than fetches at the moment, fetches and shocks. I don't know if you've looked at a bit of MTG Finance in the last few days or not, but to get a playset of Surveil lands in some of like the key main colors, you're talking 60 quid. You're talking easily 60 quid, whereas you can now pick up your playset of fetches for near a 40. Now, you were not said that this time last year about a standard printed land. You would have never bought it. But good, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good. I mean, good. Yeah, good. Make fetches cheaper. Make cards cheaper. Like with this one as well, it's another that you don't really need playsets of Surveil lands. I think if you've got 1 or 2 of each of them, 2 of each blue one maybe, you're probably fine. I wouldn't see myself going much higher than 2 or 3 Surveil lands in this deck in particular, even though we're playing 25 mana sources essentially, because you can kind of count the Lorien revealed as lands. As I said, I feel the mana base was a bit misbuilt. The Minimo felt amazing. Mystic Gate felt really good as well, so I'd probably go down the Elegant Parlor, up a Mystic Gate to start, and then wait and see. It might be a case of you swap the Arid Maces out for a blue fetch as well, because this deck is more blue than traditional Jeskai decks, where it feels like every single spell you're playing is blue, and then you're only in red for Galvanic Discharge and Through the Breach, and you're only in white for Wrath of the Skies. So it's basically mono blue. But in general, it felt good still. I would like to make these small changes. As I said, I'd probably go up a Brain Surge. I'd change up the sideboard a little bit, like bits and pieces here and there, maybe try some different answers, but you need to be ready for Nadu, so I had the surgical in there just in case. But in all in all, it felt pretty good and pretty well built for the league.
Absolutely. And we'll reflect on the league in a minute. And again, thank you everybody who's tuning in, found us on Spotify, anything like that. On our YouTube channel, youtube.com/AllDemonDave, you can go find we've got this audio going over our league coverage. So if you want to check it out there, the league that we're going to talk about, we've got it timed in with the video, so you can see the gameplay that we're on about, see how this deck performed, and also copy it and check it out for yourself. But before we even do that, I just love that I'm looking at the Moxfield right now, and again, shout out Magic Online for the access to the All Access account. But we've copy and pasted it out as we do, Scott. We can use the fancy arts. We can use all the nice arts and all the good printings. I had a big gulp to myself at seeing a 4-figure modern deck list for the first time in a while. But then I realized we are running things like expedition fetches and stuff like that. So I was like, and also
it's actually just a 4-figure modern deck. So the expedition Mystic Gate is there. But that's because that's the Mystic Gate that I own.
Oh right, okay, and it's also the expensive version of the ring. We've none of this from the bundle bullshit. We've actually got the one that you need, the one that you actually needed to pull from the from the booster pack. So and
those are also the rings that I own. So I've got this. This is all set in the Moxfield list to my preferred printing on Moxfield. So it's the versions I have in paper.
Oh, the man's a straight degenerate. Well, going through the league we have got playing on the YouTube is a 3-2 league. You've one run by yourself. In this league, we see unfortunately only 3 different decks. No, 4 different decks. I can't count. 4 different decks. We start off with a matchup against Titan. Going into Titan, how do you feel?
I was initially apprehensive a little because I thought, well, if my mana's a little bit slow and they have a particularly fast start, it can be a problem. But at the end of the day, I'm playing 4 counterspell. I'm playing 3 subtlety. Wrath of the Skies is absurd against them, and they don't have interaction, so I have time to set up Through the Breach Emrakul, where even if I'm tapping the 1 ring, I can use the pitch spells to not fall super far behind in terms of permanence, and then just play Breach Emrakul because they're not interacting with it.
Yeah. Do you think now?
So it felt pretty good.
Do you think now with like Wrath of the Skies, this is like a card we can go back over, and we are in that sort of like dead bird summer where we don't actually want to be thinking about the current meta. We're thinking about the next meta, and Amulet is
that like Hot Girl Summer?
It's like Hot Girl Summer, but like after the cinema and popcorn, and everybody's got into their comfy clothes and are sitting on the sofa. It's that version.
Yeah. Because no one wants to go to RCQs to lose against Nadu 3 times and then go back home.
Absolutely. Apart from all those degenerates who haven't sold out of their Nadu deck yet. But Wrath of the Skies against Titan is going to be a really, really big threat and a force because those little 1-drop artifacts are not sticking around, and I don't even know if is the deck coming back. Is probably my question. Is the deck coming back post Nadu?
We'll see. I'm in the lab with Titan, so we'll see. I have played Titan a bit previously, so we'll see. Maybe Aftermath Analyst and some Lotus Fields. That's a little spoiler, but we'll see.
Fair. So Titan, decent matchup. feel good about this deck into it. Definitely sleeving it up. Definitely getting your deck out, and happy to play. And we come down with the dub in this particular one. So
Yeah,
felt good all the way. But then, unfortunately, the meta tyrant, the real meta tyrant, not Nadu, Boris Energy was waiting for you in game 2.
the Modo tyrant, if you like.
The Modo tyrant. That's probably the best
Yeah.
way to put it, isn't it?
It's unbelievable how popular it is, but I mean, I get it. Like, it's been a while since we've had a really good mid-range deck that isn't violating one of the rules of Magic in some way. Like, I know some people call Rhinos a mid-range deck. I see it as slightly more of a control deck, but what is mid-range really? We could sit here and talk for the next 2 hours about just that. But Energy it felt worse than if I was just playing standard Jeskai, because Flage is really good against Energy, and I missed it. And in this one as well, I felt that the lack of life gain to offset the ring cannot be understated. Where with standard Jeskai, you have sometimes 1 or 2 solitudes, but you've got at least 3 Flages. It doesn't sound like a lot of life, but 3 to 6 life is absolutely huge. It's very often at least a turn, sometimes more than 1 turn. And against Energy, a good couple of times I ended up getting bolted out. And it just felt like there was nothing I could do, where I was trying to stabilize behind a One Ring, and they went, oh, okay, cool, go to your upkeep, bolt you, like, game's over. And I can't then tap the ring to draw out of it because it's got too many counters on it, and just felt like I didn't have time. So that's possibly one place where I'd tune the sideboard going forward. Is Supreme Verdict not good enough? I'd probably have... I'm thinking weird stuff, like maybe even like Oust, Path to Exile, that sort of thing. Just something to go a little bit quicker in those matchups, just stem the bleeding a little bit more, or rebuild the deck entirely, change the mana base up and play Leyline Binding and Solitude. That's another way to go, potentially. Just lean more into pitch spells.
Leyline Binding. That's the end of play card of this summer. That's gonna.
Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah.
If you haven't picked your 4 up yet, whilst it's been tanking in price because of the reprint, make sure you've got them ready for your deck, your modern decks going forward.
Get the DMU ones though. Don't get the ugly. Don't get the ugly old heart ones.
Do not get the OTJ ones, because you will not get respect at your modern table at all.
You will get a slow eyebrow raise from me if you play one of those Leyline Bindings against me.
Be like, oh, you play an arena, do you? Yeah, I'll be one of those. But and we got to accept NG's here to stay, though. I think it's going to be effectively one of the defining parts of the metas going forward, especially in a world where like Energy's dominance is also sort of pushed aggro to the side as well. So although aggro is still fighting back, surely I've seen on the last couple of days on a few leagues, I've seen Izzet prowess come back and Teamer prowess come back a little bit more. Mainly I think to obviously lean into the ability to have some of that removal / counter spell magic to like flip the games. But yeah, we definitely
I got my head beaten in a challenge by Quinniac on Black Red Burn, so don't know if that counts.
Black Red Burn.
Wow. Yeah, they played a Blackleaf Cliffs. They played a Blackleaf Cliffs and a Goblin Guide. Later on, they went Monastery Swiftspear, bump in the night, and I died shortly thereafter. I think the entire match took about 7 minutes.
The bump in the night tech. Wow, it really is our best lives. Hey, we got that and Soul Spike being played everywhere. It's some good modern Magic, but we saw Energy twice in this league. Unfortunately, both were L's for our hero. But I think it's something to lean into, that this deck maybe needs a little bit of a tune, a little bit of a refine. But see if you can do it out there. If you have got a different list or a similar list and you want to drop us a link to it in the comments, if we like it and if we play it, anybody who's whose list we follow up with here on the channel, you will get 120 play points to your Magic Online account, courtesy of us here. But looking to the two other decks that we played, and is it Wizards was looking at us in game 3.
It is, yeah.
How did that one go?
Felt very, very good, to be honest. Is it Wizards it felt like Jeskai control, but worse, especially when people were playing Jeskai Wizards early on in the format, just after MH3 released, where it was the same Flage with control spells, but they were playing Snapcaster Mage, Tameo, Flame of Anor. As much as it pains every fibre of my being, Snapcaster Mage is not a playable Magic card in 2024. I own 2.
Oh,
I wish I could play them.
Editor, this is where we put the violins over the top. Scott misses the.
I'm admitting it to myself. I'm admitting it to myself as much as everyone else that Snapcaster Mage isn't playable.
This is the same sadness for the fact that I really want to still be able to just play a turn 3 Greasefang, right? Like it's still core to my identity there. I really want to do it, man.
I've been casting Snapcaster Mage for a lot longer than you were casting Greasefang, I'll tell you that for free.
That's very true.
I was casting Snapcaster Mage in standard, baby.
Oh dear. Well, is it Wizards? A deck that's on the rise. We've seen quite a few brews going around. Pygonti is definitely someone, if you don't already follow on Twitter. We're not going to call it X ever on this show, but I just did behave Twitter.
If Elon Musk is happy to dead name his daughter, then I'm happy to dead name his website.
Yeah, that's the thing. But sorry, I just got to pause it. So, you know, if I win this game of Fortnite, can I get a battle pass? I actually just had a text on my son saying, you know, if I win this game of Fortnite, can I get a battle pass? What a thing to interrupt the podcast with.
Just say win 3.
So he's like, okay, I'll say.
So send me 3 dubs this week and you can get it.
I just said win 3 and 20 subs on YouTube. I know my value. Okay, back to it. So is it Wizards? Lots of different techs and brews being brought up. Pygonti has actually got one that I've had a little bit of a run through of, which is really, really interesting. One we'll probably bring up in a future video. But in this matchup, felt like watching it back and seeing it play, Scott, it was never going to have enough reach to get through your breach, with the ability that you'll be able to get Emrakul out when it's your turn to put the pressure down.
No, I think at this point in Modern, you need to be playing just a refined, direct game plan, whether that's you're playing Nadu and you're playing to combo as quickly as possible. So they're playing Delighted Halfling, Quarter Calling, all of these things. Tron is very all-in on turn 2 Trinosphere, that sort of thing. Is it Wizards feels like a halfway house between a tempo deck and a control deck to me, where I think if you want to play Tameo and Snapcaster, you can't really afford to be messing around with Flage. Just play Murktide and get people dead.
Yeah, very much so.
Or just play Jeskai Control, because you are not playing the One Ring, and that is probably a mistake if you're playing a slower deck.
Yeah, and do you know, I found this about should we just say what am I about a year into, like, at least thinking about Modern in my Magic journey, probably about 6 months playing, but a year understanding what goes on over in these days streets. And there's a lot of people who've got like the thing that they like to play and that they've played for a long time, but then it's okay that you can play it and it is functional, but there is sometimes just better decks to play, isn't it? And you see that right now with Yawgmoth and Nadu. Like, Yawgmoth is still not a bad deck. It's just Nadu's a better deck. And you lose really, really badly to Nadu because Nadu does it better.
Yeah, like, I've been playing Modern since 2012, 2013, that sort of time, where decks have come and gone. There's been combo decks. There's been creature combo decks, specifically control decks, mid-range decks, aggro decks. They've all had their time in the sun. With the way that the Horizon sets are changing the landscape of the format, and I'm not going to get into whether I think the Horizon sets are a good idea or not. It's not relevant because they've done them. They're going to keep doing them. So all we can do as players is just to react to what we're given and understand the rules of engagement for the format. I think at this point in Modern, as I said, you need a really direct game plan. The answers are still really good. We've still got all the same answers that we had, and now we've got things like Galvanic Discharge, Wrath of the Skies, everything like that on top of it. People have forgotten that Unholy Heat exists. That's still a very, very good removal spell.
Yeah.
So even the ones not being played are very good. So you need to be really direct and really, really focused on doing one particular thing.
Exactly. And Modern is there, and do you know what? So in some ways, would probably encourage you can just play a game of Modern for fun, but the general thing, the general heart of the core of playing a game of Modern is playing to win. It's to spike your locals, it's to win your tournament. So definitely a place to enjoy yourself, but also in the context of how we play competitively, sometimes you just gotta let one strategy go, lean into a new strategy, and take things in a bit of a different direction. But wasn't needed when we were playing as it Wizards. Won that game. It was fairly convincing. And then we went on to our 3-2 end boss against Mill. Good old Mill. What can we say about good old Mill?
Well, they double archive trapped me on turn 1, and I revealed an Emrakul and shuffled my graveyard back in, so...
YOLO.
what do you want to say about it? I feel like they probably thought, ooh, Jeskai control, this is quite comfortable for me to win, and then I revealed an Emrakul, and I imagine they swore at their computer screen and then immediately went to the sideboard and found every extirpate under the sun to try and bring in. In game 2, they did successfully extirpate me. In game 3, I got them. So
yeah,
we got there.
Mill's a funny one. It's so well refined in Modern, isn't it? Like I think Mill has got a massive, massive ability to be such an expert of the deck. You know, we've got our own local like Modern Mill experts in our own meta game, and we've also got people who've come along with Mill because they've bought it because it's fun. And you're like, yeah, Mill can be really, really tricky in the hands of the right person. But when you built your deck well, as you say about the shuffle effect on the Emrakul, you know they're not being played in vast number for like just fun. It is definitely something you've got to protect against, is having multiple Emrakuls so you can shuffle back in off those Mill effects. And all in all, a 3 and a 2. You're never unhappy with a winning. We're never unhappy not getting a winning record. Get your top 8 in some RCQs. Hey, you probably win an RCQ in the Midwest of America with that record. So, how do you feel now that we've run through a league? I know how I feel. I like the deck. Is it a sleeve? Are you getting your deck out, Scott, going forward with this archetype?
I think if you own Emrakuls and you've been playing Jeskai Control, give it a spin. See if you like it. Through the Breaches are €3-4 now, so they're not that hard to get hold of, but Emrakuls are still pretty steep. So if you own Emrakuls from some other random brew back in the past, like I did, like I was playing Krakenwick Pre-Meta about 6 months ago, so that's why I own them. And I just thought, well, I'll chuck them in, I'll give it a go, because if I want to play this in paper, I can quite easily. So I think it's a different angle. I don't think it's necessarily worse or better. I think it's just different. If you don't want to spend €40 each on Flages, this might be an alternate route to go down. I would play it. I would play it at an RCQ. I think you could catch people super off guard in a closed decklist tournament with this.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. Is that this is one of those? Oh damn! I'm not ready for this kind of decks, you know.
Yeah, I mean, even Mill, where they had the extirpates and they're ready to answer these original Eldrazi with the shuffle effects, they can do that, but they're also not necessarily prepared for everything else this deck can throw at them. So I would try it. I would also consider looking into Leyline Binding Solitude. I know, just to call back to them again, Jerry Thompson and Dave Shields played Leyline Binding versions of Jeskai, so I would use that as the base to start from, and then try and find the space for the Amracles and Through the Breaches in that shell. You are going to be slightly worse in the mirror because you're losing out on probably counter magic by doing that, where you might not have quite enough blue cards for force and negation and subtlety, that sort of thing. So a couple of different angles to go. I would definitely give it a try, though. If someone's better than me at control decks, then they could probably do better than 3-2 with it.
Yeah, but this is the thing about us trying to win, right? You try to win on many different angles. It's a bit of combo, it's a bit of control, relatively well placed. We are in a pre-Nadu ban world, but possibly by the time you're listening to this, we might be post-Nadu ban. We kind of, whilst we're doing our testing and whilst we're running these leagues, we are kind of putting our decks through the paces of we don't think Nadu's going to be around. So in that basis, still definitely a sleeve up. And also probably still playable, even if it does, for some crazy unbeknown reason, stick around through the type of control shell that it has in its backbone.
Probably not playable if the One Ring gets banned.
If the One Ring gets banned, get this on card market, get in those credits, or put it back in your bulk box. Bulkbox.co.uk. Old emo Dave Tanner, check out everybody. So yeah, on this episode, definitely getting our deck out to take it to our locals and play Paper Magic. We will get this on an episode for you in a couple of weeks. So follow the YouTube channel where we post Paper, Modern, Pioneer, Standard content, as well as some hot takes and deck techs and stuff like this. Up next, what do you want to see? I've got a couple of brews. Scott's got a couple of brews. Do we bring back Basim 6? Basim 6 recently on the channel. Interesting one. When I finally refined Jeskai energy, but the aggro version, bringing their Mockingbirds back in. Do we get that going? As we mentioned earlier, Amulet Titan, a deck that has pretty much been sleeping over the last few weeks whilst Nadu's been a riser. Do we see where the Analyst brew takes us and get that back out on the channel? Post in the comments what you want to see. If you've got a deck that you want to see us run through and talk over, post that. Anybody who does that, 120 play points coming their way, courtesy of Magic Online. But in the meantime, you got any final words, Scott?
Nah, play it. Emrakul Through the Breach is fun. There's nothing better than when you cast Through the Breach and someone doesn't expect it and they pick it up, read it and go, okay. And then you slap an Emrakul down and you see their shoulders slump down a little bit as they start counting their permanents and realise they've got 6 of them.
So on that note, enjoy everybody. Go get your deck out. We'll see you on the next